I've never really liked travel guitars. Don't get me wrong, the concept is great. What guitar player wouldn't want to be able to bring their guitar with them wherever they go? It's just the way the concept has been executed has never really appealed to me. Of course, there's always going to be compromises. You're taking a full-size guitar and shrinking it down. There will be compromises. It's just, most brands tend to compromise in a way that's just a bit too much for me. With a guitar that ends up not looking like a guitar at all, it ends up looking like a plank. And call me vain, but part of playing guitar is, I love guitars, and I love how they look, and I think they look cool. And when you remove that coolness factor, when you remove the guitar's body, it's just not something that I love the look of. And if I don't love the look of it, I'm less likely to play it, I'm less likely to enjoy it. It's just, it's not like a guitar anymore. And that's why I've been offered a whole bunch of different travel guitars to do videos with. I've never accepted them until this one, because it doesn't look like a travel guitar. It looks like a guitar, but it is just a little bit different. Yeah. Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Restring Sunday. It's the series where I take a guitar, I restring it, I talk a little bit about it, and I play it. And today, as you've seen, we've got something that's a little bit out of the ordinary. It's a travel guitar from Ciari Guitars, and it is rather different. This is it. It's in a backpack. Now, full disclosure, this guitar has been provided to me to make this video, but that's not going to stop me telling you both the pros and the cons of this instrument, because there are. Like I said in the intro, there's always going to be compromises, and that's no different with this guitar. There are compromises, and I'm going to run you through them all. So let's start with the bag, because this isn't actually what you get the guitar if you buy it, or not what you get as standard, I should say. This is the bag that you get the guitar in as standard, okay? It's a much smaller, thinner bag with not that much storage space. You could probably get, you know, a strap, a couple of packs of strings, maybe a short cable, and that would be kind of stretching the limits of this pouch. The storage space isn't all that great in the standard bag. If you want this bag, which has a significant amount more storage, you've got a lot more pockets, a lot more room, and extra padding as well, well, you'd have to pay $100 to get this bag. Do I believe that the bag is worth that? Well, maybe to some people, but you don't have to worry about that, because if you use an affiliate code, you can use mine, which is on the screen now, and it's also in the description, or you can use somebody else's. You'll get the bag, this particular bag, with the purchase. So I think it is definitely a requirement if you're getting this guitar, because after all, it's a travel guitar. You're going to want to travel light, and you're going to want to travel with things. Having a bag that can fit the guitar, as well as, well, I've gigged with this already, and I used this bag. I had a laptop in it, I had multiple cables, I even had a change of clothes in the bag. You can fit a lot more in here than just this standard bag. So use a code. It doesn't have to be mine, just use a code. So let's take this out of the bag and really get to grips with it, because it's pretty cool. So this is the guitar as it is out of the box, or out of the bag, I should say, and this is how it ships as well. So the shipping is it's in a much smaller box. And as you can see, the neck is folded into 3 pieces. You've got the bit that's attached to the body. This is a bolt-on neck guitar. And then you've got kind of a middle piece, very small. It's only about 1.5 frets worth, or maybe 2 frets all in. And then you've got the rest of the neck. And as it works, what you do is you fold it out. The springs in the back, there's a whole mechanism in the back here. You take a lever, you pull it, and that's the guitar. Now it's playable. And I gigged with this. No backup guitars at all. I took it to a gig and, well, here's some footage from it. Like I said in the intro, I don't like how travel guitars tend to not be professional, I guess. I love the idea of bringing a guitar somewhere, but I would never gig with those small ones. This is different because this is a guitar. You can't tell that it's not a guitar. Anyone in the audience can't tell that it's not foldy unless they see it happening, and you can't really tell while playing it either. So let's start restringing. We'll go over some specs. I already broke a string here, so we're only going to get 5 snips. Ready? So this is called the Ciari Ascender, and this particular model is the standard Ascender. They have multiple different types, and they tend to do the variation in pickups. And the prices vary depending on which one you get. So this is the standard with 2 humbuckers, and this one comes in at $17.99 USD for a made in Nashville, made in the US guitar, $17.99, but they can come in a little bit cheaper as well. You can go for the single pickup P90 version, which I believe is $15.99 USD, again for the made in USA guitar. And I'll tell you a personal anecdote as to why travel guitars can be very useful, especially when traveling on a plane. This is an ebony fretboard, by the way, really pretty looking board, and I'm just oiling it up because it is unseasonably dry at the moment. So last September I got a guitar in Germany, and I did a video where I transported it back from Germany to Ireland just on my own, which was somewhat difficult. I had a backpack, I had a suitcase, and then I had a big hard case with a guitar in it. Traveling on my own, it was difficult, and it had several things that I didn't even consider, and maybe you haven't considered as well if you haven't done it before. For one, you need a hard case if you're traveling with a plane. And it's not free either. Those oversized charges for a guitar, checking a guitar in with a hard case, it was €50 to go. So €50 one way. If you stack that up enough, you've kind of paid for one of these if you're traveling often with a guitar. I just calculated it here. The $17.99 model, you'd have to go on 36 flights, which is essentially 18 trips to your destination and back, and you've paid for the guitar and the cost of the oversized luggage being the guitar in the hold. And then there's other complications with the guitar in the hold, because it can get damaged, it can break. But there's one thing that I didn't even consider. I was on my own with a lot of stuff. I had a backpack, suitcase, and guitar, and I needed to go to the toilet. The saving grace was I was on a train to get to the airport, so I could go where I could leave the guitar with the rest of my luggage, go and come back pretty quick, and no one could take anything. Well, I could hope that no one could take anything. Whereas once I got to the airport, just kind of had to hold it, because there was no way I was bringing in all of that stuff, especially the guitar, into the men's room, because you just know that I'd have to put the case on the ground, and we all know what's on the ground in that room. There are a couple of things about this guitar which are interesting, bar the fact that it folds, which we will go into a little bit more detail on in a minute. The guitar itself, as a guitar, because that's how I think it should be treated, not just a gimmick of it folds, but actually a usable tool that you can gig with, that you can record with, Because like I said in the intro, you also kind of lose credibility. If you were a session musician, you're hired for a gig, and you have to fly there, you bring this guitar, it's a guitar to your employer. Whereas you bring a little guitar that kind of looks like a plank with strings, that's not quite the same impact as you would hope being employed by someone who's hired you to play the show. So I would view this guitar more so as a guitar that you can travel with rather than a travel guitar, if that makes sense. It is a fully blown guitar. It's a professional guitar that happens to have a foldy thingy in the neck. Now, another thing, pickups. Interesting. I didn't know this until I looked at the spec, but this is a 59 in the neck, Seymour Duncan 59, and a 59 in the bridge as well. Dual Seymour Duncan 59s. And while that, you might think, oh, it's just the same pickup, it's actually not. It is the neck Seymour Duncan 59 and the bridge Seymour Duncan 59, which they are different outputs. I think it's something around 7K for the neck and 8K for the bridge. And like, those are good pickups. With the dual 59 setup, I do find that the guitar is a little bit darker than normal. I do have quite a bit of presence turned up on this amplifier, but here's a clean. You've got your standard volume, your standard tone, and you've got a three-way switch. So it's kind of Les Paul-esque in a way. You know, you've got just the three-way switch, a volume and a tone, with your two humbuckers. And then maybe more Les Paul-esque is the scale length. This isn't a shortened scale length. It is your Gibson scale length, your 24 3/4 inch scale from the nut to the bridge. Now I'm going to be putting on some D'Addario 11s. These are NYXLs. We're going to go old school here. I'm going to show you a code. You seeing that? Someone's going to grab that. And the reason that I'm going 11s is that I'm tuning this to D standard, as I almost always do. Tune guitars to D standard. Now I've seen some people talk about these guitars before, but I haven't seen anybody show you the restring process, so I'm going to show you that in a little bit more detail now. So this is the back of the guitar, and this is the mechanism that allows folding and unfolding. What you've got is you've got this block, and it's held by 4 springs, and this is what you thread your strings through. So here I go, I'm threading my E string through, and there it is, it's lodged in the block. Then what I do is I take this and I roll it over this roller. And that's really all you have to do. So there's the string there in the block, goes all the way over the roller. So you can see on the front there where it's coming out. And I thread it over the saddle on the roller bridge. Then I feed the string through the nut and also then through this plastic retainer, which holds the strings when you lose tension on the strings when you fold the guitar. And then you bring the string up through the locking tuner. We've got 22 nickel frets, but they are plecked. So the guitar, again, this is a professional guitar, and it plays like it too. The restring does take a little bit of time to get used to. You have to learn the steps in which to do it, and once you learn them, you can kind of, like anything, you learn steps for different bridges. This is no real different from doing that. Weight-wise, it's not the lightest guitar, but it certainly isn't the heaviest either. There are plenty of heavier Les Pauls, and this guitar does have weight relief. It is a basswood body, and these cavities here specifically, that is entirely just weight relief. That is an empty cavity. So there is actually quite a bit of wood removed from this body, and yet it's still heavy. And you might ask why? Well, it's because you've got a lot of metal in this guitar, and not just in the sense of the word. You've got aircraft grade aluminium for this section of the neck, and that is going to add some weight to it, so they have to remove weight for the body as well as this whole mechanism here. The big question that you would probably be asking is, does this affect playability? You know, the neck splits in half, and the answer is no, not really. You really don't notice it when you're playing. Like, okay, you notice it initially because it's wood to metal, so the metal is colder. But even though that there's like this indentation here for the mechanism, your hand never really goes there, because by the time you're up at these frets, your thumb isn't there at the back. You're not, that's a very strange hand positioning to have there like that. You're gonna have your thumb over, so you really don't notice. The most noticeable aspect of that part is that you do get a bit of neck dive on this guitar. I'll demonstrate with a strap. So here's the guitar, and you have some neck dive there, and I think the reason is because the weight is on this part of the neck, it's past where your strap button is. So you do have a little bit of that neck dive. It's not crazy, it's not like it's like that, which can happen with some guitars, but this, you know, there is a little bit. So you do have to kind of maintain holding it just to a degree, but perfectly doable. I've had plenty of guitars that don't have a chunk of the neck that splits in half that do that as well. So it's one of those compromises. It seems that the only thing that they've really shrunk on this guitar is the headstock. The headstock is kind of a little bit of a stubby headstock. It's quite small in comparison, and that's because the headstock has to fit into the body when the neck is folded. They really couldn't make it bigger, and but they've maintained a headstock. They didn't make it headstockless, or headless, I guess, would be a much more uniform way of saying that. You know, I'm thinking while I'm restringing this, it's probably not that different from restringing a Bigsby. There is one aspect that maybe you could say is a drawback, though, to just, you know, it is, again, how the guitar has to be made to function. And that is that you do have quite a bit of string past the bridge and around the back of the guitar. We'll give you some sympathetic vibrations when you're doing dead stops. You'll get a little bit of a ring out. It's not too big of a problem unless you're playing like extreme metal gent, which you're probably not playing on this body shape. This kind of reminds me kind of like a Yamaha Rev Star almost. It's kind of single cutty, double cutty-ish, but it's not quite either. But I think that kind of lends itself to a degree to where you can kind of play any genre on this and no one's going to question you. You could play jazz, you could play blues, you could play rock, you could play metal. It doesn't really matter. It comes in all sorts of different colors. This one is the seafoam green, but it comes in like blues, blacks, reds, whites. So there are options. And I've almost got the last string on. I'm delaying to get you to one more point because it requires all the strings on for it. Okay, so I've kind of preliminary tuned it, but I just would mention that I do find that you have to kind of stretch the strings just a little bit extra because there is so much behind the bridge. So I'm going to give these a good stretch and then I'll show you. So now that I've got the strings cut, I can show you. When you fold the guitar, okay, so that guitar is folded now. This in the bag can fit under a plane seat. What that means is that if you're getting on a plane, you can still have your hand luggage, so like in a suitcase, put that in the overhead. This one fits under the seat of the plane. You've got your laptop in the bag or whatever. you could do like a whole fly gig, just this amp modeler, a HX Stomp Nano Cortex, something like that, in the little bag. You could do the full thing. This is tiny. In fact, once this is down to its folded size, this is shorter than a ukulele. So, because, you know, a ukulele has its neck that is fixed, it's got a certain scale length. This is a very, very small guitar, but it does the thing that all the other guitars that are travel guitars that I've seen don't do. It looks like a guitar. It plays like a guitar. It is a guitar. And that's the bit that's kind of held me back on travel guitars. So I said it before in the video, this is kind of, it's a guitar that happens to be able to travel well versus a travel guitar that's its primary function. Does it have drawbacks? Yes. But if you're traveling frequently, and you don't even have to be a touring musician to fall into that category, you could be a pilot who wants to play guitar, you could be anyone traveling on business who has to make hotels home for weeks to months even, and you want to play guitar and you want to get this on a plane, this is a valid choice. And when I think about touring musicians, you know, there's not always a lot of money in that. And saving the luggage fees, if it's $50 a trip on a guitar that you can have under the seat, that might just work for somebody. So if that is what it appeals to you for, I think it does tick those boxes. It is a good instrument that is reliable. You can gig with it, you can fold it up, you can put it away, fits in a backpack. Yeah, I think that ticks everything that it needs to tick off for this to be a really, really good guitar that you can travel with. So that's the video. Thank you for watching. If you liked it, please like it. If you like guitar videos and also videos about other stuff that are related to guitar, you can subscribe if you want to, or even subscrimbo. And also the bag, if you want one of those, which I do recommend, consider using the code if you're buying one of these guitars, because you'll get the bag for free. Yeah. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.